Hi guys, happy Friday, or Saturday if you're in Australia. Have to say that now with Coach Nicole. I love it. So I am back. If you guys missed my live yesterday, you'll notice I have these crazy thick glasses on, and I talked about a whole story about it yesterday. So if you missed that, go watch that and you'll see why I'm wearing them. But anyways, today I wanted to go over, I'm gonna wait just a few minutes here until a few more people jump on. But the topic today was gonna be talking about weighing and measuring your foods. And I put for better results. So I'm gonna dive into that a little bit deeper. This might be something brand new to you, or maybe it's just something that you need a refresher on, or just something to refine some of your methods as you're trying to reach your goals. Hey Karen, hey Liz. Thanks for joining. So even before I did this live and was kind of preparing for it, I did a poll on the page here just to see kind of where people are at with this topic. And I had 121 people that voted. And I just asked if you've ever weighed your food, or if you're somebody that always weighs your food. I had a couple different options there. So the results of those are pretty interesting. 9% of people say they track everything that goes in their mouth. So, whether that's, water that you're drinking or gum that you're eating, that's everything. That's pretty legit. I had 41% that said they track and measure everything once in a while. 39% have never done this. So that's a pretty big number. This will be pretty beneficial then, I think, for a lot of people. 9% say they measure almost everything. So I think that's a more realistic, kind of thing here when we're talking about weighing and measuring your food. You're obviously not going to be able to weigh and measure everything you eat, especially if you do go out to eat and, go to different places to eat, different people's houses. You're not going to bring your food scale with you. And if you do, we might have to have a talk. Or unless you're competing like I've done before, where your food scale actually is something you have to take with you. But many of us are not trying to get on a bodybuilding stage, or something that specific where you're trying to reach a very small body fat percentage. All right, so a lot of times as I was kind of researching this topic, there's actually been research done to show that a lot of people that struggle with weight loss and their own weight actually underestimate how much they're actually eating. So a lot of times tracking is number one. So a lot of times there's different methods you can track your food, but sometimes we just kind of estimate in our head of what we eat throughout the day. And I hear it all the time when I get on consult calls or, trying to figure out if we're gonna be a good fit together. And everybody kind of says, I eat really healthy. I just, I'm struggling and I can't lose weight. And a lot of times when it comes right down to it, if we actually measured their intake, it's a lot higher than they think it is, for a lot of different reasons, which I'm going to go through right now. One of the reasons is we have something called portion distortion. And the biggest example I can give you to this, or analogy, is like an ATM. If you went to an ATM machine, you had a wad of cash to put in there, you didn't count it, you just threw it in, and you're kind of like guessing, and trusting the machine that it's going to be right when it counts it. That's kind of what we do when we just guesstimate on what we're eating and what we're taking in some of our portions and some of our meals. We just kind of estimate, oh, that looks like a decent amount of protein or carbs, but we don't actually know what that food weighs or what its value is, or like the ATM example, how much value it has, how much money we're putting into our body, right? So that's something, portion distortion. And as Americans, all of our portions seem to have gotten larger and larger over the years, right? With the huge Diet Cokes and Cokes that we get now from McDonald's and things like that. There's no need for that large of a soda. So sometimes that's going on when we try to think about our intake. Also, we have technical difficulties now. So a lot of times we're using these apps to input our food intake, and oftentimes we're not putting them in correctly, or we forget to put a meal in, or we forget that we had a bite of this or a taste of this. We didn't put it in the app, and so it's not reflecting properly. These can really add up. There's also something called food label variance. So a lot of times I get this question from my clients that are pretty good about tracking. They'll tell me at the end of the day, for whatever reason, their calories came to what their target was, but their macros weren't matching, or vice versa. And what that is the FDA is allowed to have 20% variance on their food labels for the amount of calories. So you could actually be plus or minus 20% on some of your food labels. So it's just how it is. I don't have a real good answer for that. And then also we have something called eating amnesia. We forget. So I don't remember what I ate yesterday. I don't even remember what I ate for breakfast. So, just constantly having a way to track and do it immediately or ahead of time. If you know what you're going to be eating ahead of time, you can put it in your app and stick to it. The BLTs that I just mentioned, the bites, licks, and taste. So these are all things that get missed, or we're just not mindful, and they can start to really add up on our caloric intake if we're not really paying attention. And this is another big one. A lot of times we try to eat way too clean and too perfect all week long. What happens on the weekends is we bomb. Because we've restricted and we've been way too, like I said, clean and just trying to be so perfect all week long. And then the weekend comes, and guess what? You can really blow your whole week by a couple of meals, cheat meals, if you will, on the weekend, or drinks. So if we're somebody that's trying to follow a deficit, we're trying to stay within a calorie range, and we do perfect all week. We are actually coming in maybe a little under. We're eating salads and things that maybe don't fill us up, or we don't allow any kind of treats at all throughout the week. Then comes the weekend and you're binging on everything. You're gonna go into a surplus for the week. So if you zoom back and do a weekly average of your calories, that one weekend can really destroy the whole week. And it just becomes a cycle, and your metabolism is gonna kind of wreak havoc on that. So what we can do is, if you are somebody that's ready to start tracking, number one, tracking your food, that's a great thing for you to do. But you can also refine that tracking by actually measuring your food and weighing it. So, okay. Sorry, I just got a little pop up there. So I'm just gonna go through real quickly. This is a very basic video on kind of what you can expect when you start to measure and weigh your foods. The first thing is, I've got a digital scale here, food scale. This one was like $12 off of Amazon. There's a bunch out there, but they're pretty simple. They just look like this, power button. And what I would say is, when you're entering your foods, let's say I use MyFitnessPal with a lot of my clients, and what you can do is set the unit of measure to what you're actually putting into MyFitnessPal on your scale. Everything will start to come over much more accurately. If you're for example, measuring in grams, you just put the grams on here, put the grams in MyFitnessPal, and boom, you've got your portion and how much you're actually eating. This is going to be superior over even measuring cups and measuring spoons. So if you're not quite sure what something weighs, I would use the scale versus a cup of let's say rice or a cup of pasta. Actually put it in a dish and weigh it out and see if it's, that when you put that into your MyFitnessPal is going to be more accurate than putting 1 cup. Simply because when you cook pasta or rice, it goes higher in volume depending on how much water you use. So the most accurate way is to just weigh it out. I know, like I said, this isn't realistic for a lot of things when you're eating on the go and things like that, but it's a really great way to just learn if you want to just have one on your counter and get it out when you're just curious, when you want to know what you're actually eating and how much of it. So I'm gonna actually just take my camera off here and show you guys how to use it. Okay, let me turn the camera if I can. What it looks like. And when you have something you want to be weighed, you can either simply put it right on there and hit on, or if you want to put it in a bowl, like let's say for example you were eating meat or something, you didn't want to touch that with raw meat. All right, so I put my bowl right on top, and you can see it's going to measure what the bowl is. If you hit the tare button, it takes it to 0, maybe, and then you'd want to add your food in there. All right, and then this unit here, you could change that if you wanted to go to ounces or grams, pounds, whatever. However you are going to be measuring your food. And then that's it. So like I said, you could just throw your food right on there. You could use the bowl method and tear it out. And it's pretty simple like that. And you can literally do that for anything, even if you're like not sure about like a banana. Like sometimes you see bananas in the store and they're like huge. Sometimes you get really small ones, right? They're gonna weigh a lot different, and that's a different amount of carbs and calories that you're putting in. So it's pretty eye-opening when you really start to get kind of more nitpicky with your measuring. The one other thing I wanted to go through with you guys today was just to keep this kind of not too long and not too many rabbit holes, but there's a lot to go over, is weighing meat. So I get this question a lot too. How do you, what's the best way to measure or weigh meat? So you can either do it raw or cooked. However, a lot of times when you get your package, your raw meat package, it's reflecting the raw. So a lot of people make this mistake. So they measure out their 4 ounces, let's say, of chicken raw, then they go and cook it and think it's still gonna be 4 ounces. But after you cook it, it loses about 25% from water. So it actually weighs 3 ounces after you cook it. So the best way to do it, if you're gonna do, I would just pick one or the other and stick to it and be consistent. If you're gonna continue to measure raw, always enter that into MyFitnessPal as raw. Or I like to do it in the cooked way because I just don't like to handle raw meat too much, and I don't know, I just don't like it. So I will cook it all up, then measure it and make sure I put it into MyFitnessPal as cooked. So that's a hack. When you go into MyFitnessPal and you start typing in your, let's say, chicken, what you're gonna do is add the word cooked and then G plus USDA. So that G just means grams. So it'll come up in grams, how many grams of cooked chicken you're actually about to eat. It'll do the conversion for you. So like I said, there's that 1 ounce difference, or 25%, depending on how many ounces you're eating. So because if you think about it, if you're starting to enter in all the raw food and it's actually cooked, you could actually be overeating. The macros don't change though, so just keep that in mind. If you've been making this mistake, don't worry too much, unless it's like a consistent, like if you eat chicken like 3 times a day, or something that you're off on your measurements like that, it can really add up and you could actually be eating a lot more than you think you are, or vice versa. Maybe you're not, you're coming in under, but that amount of meat still has that amount of protein, no matter, if you cook it or if it's raw. So hopefully you're eating cooked chicken. So I hope that helps with understanding raw versus cooked. You want to do the same thing with cooked veggies and rice and pasta as well. So, you can type in, when you eat 1 cup of rice, make sure you put cooked and then add grams plus USDA, and it should pop up the most accurate number for you there. All right, so I hope that helps. Can you post or say that again? How do we enter the meat? So yes, so you're going to, I'll post it as well, but you're going to actually type in the word cooked, and then let's say it's chicken, cooked chicken, then just a G for grams plus USDA, and it should pop up the most accurate description there for the actual food that you're eating. A lot of times if you just typed in chicken or if you scanned a barcode, I don't know if even the meat packages have a barcode, but that's what's reflecting as raw. So I wouldn't use that part. I would use the tracking that's in MyFitnessPal as cooked. They've already done that conversion for you. So again, I hope that's not too confusing, but that does throw some people off when we're talking about some things that, you know, are cooked versus raw, like pastas and things like that. So just something to be aware of. All right, so that's just a little bit on tracking. And like I said, if this is like, you know, it just seems too daunting or too meticulous, it might be for you right now. Not everybody's at this point. But if you're somebody that just needs to make better choices in your daily foods, I would start there and then start tracking what you're eating just by using an app, and then get even a little bit more advanced with this by doing this whole measuring and weighing thing. It's not something that's meant to be overly obsessive and compulsive about, but it's something to learn, again, how much you're actually eating and the value of that food and what macronutrients are in that food. You can kind of study your food logs and say, okay, I didn't realize, you know, I was eating a tablespoon of peanut butter, but I should have been eating maybe half of that. Some things like that to think about. All right, so I hope that helps. Let me know of any questions, and I will actually probably post a document that kind of recaps all of the things that I just talked about. I like to do that after these live videos, so I'll have that up either by probably early next week. And if you guys are watching this now or anytime before Sunday the 21st, make sure that you are applying for the free 6 months of nutrition coaching with us. So that's still going on. So I encourage you to just ask me for the application. If you don't have it, you can send me a private message. You can comment on the video here. I've been posting about it everywhere, so you can just ask me for it. And we'll be reviewing all the applications this weekend and announcing our winner Sunday. All right, guys, have a wonderful rest of your Friday and your weekend. Remember, your goals don't stop on the weekend. Don't make your weekend your weekend. I love that, Nicole. All right, guys, I'll see you soon.